Hello and welcome to Knights of Krynn, and this will be part 17. We are in the High Cleric's Tower and chasing some stolen bodies, so we will have to move onwards. Across the room is a huge red dragon. It laughs. You fools are too late. I'm free, and Soth has the bodies he needs for his army. Now meet the man who made this possible. A knight steps from behind the dragon's bulk. You recognize him as Sir Garin from Gargeth. In his hand is a sword left at the festival by Sir Carl. He cackles. Sir Carl has revealed the true path. In life or death, you will all serve him eventually. The dragon grasps a last boulder in its talons and heaves it at you. It strikes the tunnel above you, obscuring the scene in falling dirt. The enemy runs away in the confusion. Always running away, cowards. You see the dragon disappearing in the distance. Evil forces turn to slow your advance. Isn't that common for these kind of games? Evil is so high and mighty, haha, you cannot win, but they keep running away. I mean, if they were so convinced they were so strong and mighty, why don't they stand and fight? No, always running away. Well, I suppose. Storytelling, gameplay, yeah. Then again, I suppose if they're trying to prevent us from taking back the corpses they're stolen, then they sort of have to run away. But if they were so convinced that we didn't stand a chance in the first place, they wouldn't have to run away, would they? Well, I suppose applying logic can be dangerous. Doesn't have to make sense. Well, I'm done with this fight. Just about. As you close in on the retreating dragon, another force stops to give battle. The dragon turns the corner ahead. What have we got? Bunch of wires, probably worth a fireball. Or you can just turn them, of course. Yeah, let's just throw that fireball and see if we... Haha, damaged it. That's what I was saying. In the previous episode, sometimes you can break through their magical resistance. The undead crash upon you once more. That is a random encounter. Because, of course, besides having 200 set encounters, you need some random encounters, so it wouldn't be a role-playing game. I make it sound like I'm knocking the game. I'm not. Back when this came out, it was amazing experience. It was top of the line of this kind of game, and it was a brilliant way to get to experience Dungeons and Dragons on your computer. Obviously, later games like Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights completely and utterly demolished anything that this game could provide in pure Dungeons and Dragons experience. But for what it was definitely enjoyable, and it was believable within the Dungeons and Dragons terms, of course. The dragon bellows, "Go on, Sir Garin, and get the precious bodies to safety. These followers will soon be ash." Turns to you, Nat. "You heard me too long. I'm Flair, and I am your death." Well, I suppose, let's see about that. I'm not convinced. That is one thing they definitely did in later editions of Dungeons and Dragons, was to make sure that you were afraid of dragons. In these earlier games, specifically the Dragonlance trilogy, dragons, they're just overgrown lizards. They have bad breath. and can be dangerous, but this, yeah, they are about as common as your garden variety pests. And it saddens me a bit, to be honest, that dragons lost some of their majesty in this trilogy, but that is the nature of the trilogy. The dragons are not exactly, uh, perhaps not a common sight, but not an uncommon sight either. They're still dangerous. I think I mentioned in an earlier episode that they will do their health and breath damage, their max health. If you take it down a bit in health, it will not do less damage. But one less red dragon to worry about. I do not understand how Sagaran can be evil. He must be under enchantment or charm. We must free him before he reaches Lord Soth. Uh, Maybe he had a change of heart. I don't know. Another force bars your way. Beyond, you can see the ground with pallets containing the knight's corpses. They are lost in the gloom as you are attacked. Whee! I mean, anyone who's been playing Neverwinter Nights will know that dragons can be rather scary. Unless, of course, you play a monk. A decent little monk. And you don't care about dragons. Dragons just a nuisance. And of course, you have a handful of heal potions. Details. Well, this trilogy specifically is very heavily undead. Well, Death Knights of Krynn is the undead chapter. I've always preferred this trilogy over the Forgotten Realms saga, which of course is 4 chapters, not just a trilogy. But I have to admit, after playing Curse of the Ancient Ones, I learned to appreciate that saga more than I intended to do. Curse of the Ancient Ones were always considered to be a weak chapter, and I found it very enjoyable. Not the most difficult, not the longest, but definitely enjoyable all the same. Done. No. Done. Thank you. The money? Anything good? Staff sling. Sword sword. The undead crash upon you. Crash upon you one more. Once more. One more. Yeah, one more. Yeah, one more undead, please. Words difficult. Sorry. I'm trying to speak too quickly for my own good. See, the fireball had no effect, but I decided to cast it anyway. So, I have seen speedruns of primarily the certain parts of the Forgotten Realms saga, and it is heavily abusing in-game mechanics, and that's perfectly fine for speedrun if you want to showcase you can speedrun a game very quickly. That's cool now, but I just think that certain speedrunners tend to forget to actually spend a bit of time saying that if you are to play these games the way they were intended to be played, they are enjoyable, they are challenging, they are whatever they are, instead of just, haha, look at this broken mess, ha ha ha. I'm not a big fan of that. I like games to be respected, obviously, if they are worthy of the respect in the first place. And I definitely think that these games are. You're closing in on the enemy. More undead try to slow you down. The rest, led by Zagaran, continue to haul away pallets of corpses. More fighting! Hooray! One of them. It may seem a bit silly that I'm talking about anything but this game at times, but these encounters are just, I mean, you've seen one, you've probably seen 99% of them. It's only new enemies that really makes much of a difference in the individual fights. Most fights are going to be double or triple fireballs, and then cleaning up the rest. That is going to be the majority of the fights in this game. Perhaps a bit simplistic, but advanced for the time. Not to forget, these games are 30 years old now. More so. More than 30 years, even. So. You found treasure. That would be money from the, no? Few items? Hmm? A hoopak, which is an item only candles can use, so it is of no use to us. You have caught up to the knight's corpses. The enemy tries mindlessly to force you back. A hoopak is a candle-specific weapon which can be used both as a melee and ranged weapon. Interesting little thing. The candles is a vase that, or are a vase that have a taunt ability, which of course, I mean, if you taunt enemies, they will direct their attacks against you, which can be honky-dory dicey funny to lure specific enemies into uh, an unfavorable location for you to crush them. But earlier Dungeons and Dragons didn't like non-human races, and many of them have some serious restrictions on levels. And that is the main reason. It's not because I got anything against elves or anything else of any kind. It's just playing a character that can reach level 8 cleric or level 6 fighter or whatnot when you try to take them through the entire trilogy is not very practical. So it is strictly the game forcing me to be quite one-dimensional when it comes to race selections. Which is a bit of a shame. The Garen growls at you, the mysterious sword pointed in your direction. What do? Try to take the sword, of course. We are heroes. You struggle with the Garen and manage to overwhelm him. The sword is pulled away. Durfee shatters the sword. The evil will not plague Ansalon again. The Garen calms himself, but stays by what has happened. He mumbles quietly. I had collected the items tossed down by Sirkar when he passed over Garga's outpost. I was trying to determine who Sirkar had slain. This one sword was intensely intriguing. It almost seemed to speak to me. Soon I became convinced that Sirkar was right, that the knighthood was foolishness. I sought him out, and he sent me on to Lord Soth. Things became hazy after this, but I remember planning an attack on the High Cleric's tower in order to steal away the corpses. Soth hopes to create Death Knights with them, band them into an invincible army. We must stop them. Ah, the sword has taken my strength. I fear I shall be little use in a fight. Still, we must be on after Soth. The confrontation with the Garen distracted you long enough for the enemy to pull away the pallets. The rider atop a nightmare moves a little forward. Dear Garen's help was invaluable, as will yours when the time is right. He deserves this reward. A bolt streaks from Soth's hand towards Garen. What do? Leap in front, of course, and the paladin will do so. The blast strikes Gallagher squarely in the chest. Lord snarls and turns away. Giant zombies carve away at the tower supports. Given the time, these creatures could undermine and destroy the fortress. They turn on you. That was a mistake, but it gives me the time to apologize for the fact that I haven't made the funky voice I did for Soth in an earlier episode. I did some special modulation. I can't remember what I did to get that voice. Sorry. Just have to be my plain, boring, flat voice. It wasn't a blunder. I did it for experience. Trust me on that one. Yeah, it wasn't a blunder. The same applies to Sakal and others that I may have given special voices. I have no clue what I did with them because I recorded with a special modulation, then also after. The tunnel angles upwards here, and dim natural light is filtered down. Many of the pallets are being attached to nightmares and flown away. Some still remain to be loaded. What do you do? I'll just watch them shooting me. Lord Sus steps forward and draws his sword. I have been leaning this far. Are you willing to challenge me personally? Of course. You're the bad guy. I want to beat you. Lord Soth is a Death Knight, and Death Knights, in at least this edition of Dungeons and Dragons, have an ability to cast one fireball, and that is instant cast, and it can do quite a significant amount of damage. Quite a significant amount of damage, I think it's called. But it's actually not that tough, especially not against well-equipped characters. Of course, they have a fear thing. People are terrified looking at Death Knights. And then, of course, that means the character is on auto and will start doing funky things. We don't want that. Paladin, they have high resistance to fear in this edition of Dungeons & Dragons. I don't think they are immune. But we killed him. The bad guys killed. Game over. You're done. You quickly pull back the remaining pallets. Unluckily, Storm's body is not among them. As you are congratulating yourselves, Lord Sus stands up and brushes himself off. Quite impressive, my friends. I look forward to your entry into my service. You now see the facility of assistance, but now I must see to what I have collected. Oh, bummer. Darn. Lord Sus turns before mounting his nightmare. With what I have gathered today, I shall have an invincible army. Treasure your pathetic victory, it will not be long-lived. You proceed into the fresh air and call it a video. So, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye-bye for now.